Yeah, so in South Africa, they want to implement the NHI, which is national health insurance. Basically, everyone gets taxed more, and then we all have equal opportunities to die in a hospital equally. It's a terrible idea, and the government really wants to push ahead with it. But Byron, based on the headlines that we saw today, the finance minister says the NHI is unlikely to receive substantial budget allocation soon, which leads me to believe they really want to do it, but like they're acting like capitalists and saying, well, we don't have the budget, so we can't, which is not really within the realm of ANC thinking.
Yeah, these clowns are beyond me, man. Like, do you remember the other day there was the health minister came out and he was like, yeah, this whole NHR thing, we think it sounds like a fantastic idea. We have no idea where the money's coming from. And right now it seems unimplementable and it's just not logical. And he actually said that. He actually said there's no money, it's not logical, we can't do it. And then right at the end of it, he goes, but we're doing it anyway. And you're like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, okay. That's actually ANC logic. So I suppose he was keeping party lines. And then you got the poor finance minister, man. He's like, don't look at me, man. I don't know where you're going to get the money from. What are you coming to me for? Because all the estimations are, if you put NHR onto the country, we'll bankrupt the living shit out of the place, man. Like, I think they're saying personal taxes will have to go to like 70% or some ridiculous figures. And you know what's funny? It's like, you always hear these same libtard lefties. They always go, but it works in the UK, so it would work here.
It works in the UK. That's my favorite part. The NHS, the greatest system that no one else has copied. That's how great it is. No, it's not great. It's shit.
It is shit. It is shit.
Live there. Well, used to.
Yeah, I mean, I know the NHS personally, and I'll tell you what, like, you'll go into some hospitals and you'll be like, when was this hospital built? World War II? Because I actually feel like I've just come out the trenches and I'm about to die from syphilis. Like, it's a pretty disgusting place in some of the hospitals. Look, they're not all like it. There are some actually pretty modern hospitals that, are staffed by, cheap Polish people. But at the end of the day, the Poles and the Ukrainians all try their best to provide, third world service to the British. And the funny thing about the modern British economy is that the modern British economy is an NHS with the country kind of put on top there somewhere. Because if you actually look at the NHS itself, it is like the majority of the spending in the UK. And whilst the budgets fall every single year, and every single year there's a headline somewhere in the UK that goes, oh, the NHS is about to collapse. We need to tax people more because it needs more money. And that's in a first world country that actually has money. So what are you going to do in a third world shithole where everybody steals all the money as like the local sport? And, there actually isn't any money because nobody wants to work with a bunch of commie bastards that have black supremacist, like racist policies towards any form of foreign investment because it might be capitalistic, So with that all being said, where are they going to get the money? I mean, and we actually know the answer to that, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
We do know the answer.
But just as an aside, like just to start NHI, they need 250 billion rand, which is half of Eskom's debt, right? Which
it is half of Eskom's debt.
250 billion rand just to start. When the NHI is fully implemented, it will cost close to between 500 and 600 billion rand. We only generate R1 trillion worth of revenue as a country. So 60% of the budget is going to go towards the NHI, which is more than education, interest arrears, police, whatever else together. These people are insane if they think it can work in that regard. We're going to have a budget deficit of 50%. We're going to be like Sri Lanka.
Yeah, or maybe worse. And if you want to find out where the budget for this is actually going to come from, stay tuned. But first, a word from our sponsor, Tagmach.
I'm sure most of you know that South Africa is not a normal place. I mean, the July riots of a year ago is very indicative of that. So if South Africa is not normal, why are you settling for normal tactical gear? Which is why we at Warning Shot refuse to use normal tactical gear. We use Tagmach. Tagmach creates the best versatile, battle-hardened tactical gear in the entire country. Gear which is versatile, reliable, and ready to serve in any environment. environment. From medical pouches to magazine holders, Sakmach has the best tactical gear for your next hunting adventure, expedition, or even your ride prevention exercise. And for viewers of Morning Shot, you get a special discount through our link, which is in the description below.
And welcome back. So, where are they actually likely to get the money for this all from? Well, your medical aid savings. So, they're basically going to go through and steal all your cash. I mean, communists stealing your cash? That's never happened before, has it? Like, this would be the first time.
Yeah, so the basic plan is to increase income tax by like 5% for people that pay it, which is very few, less than 2 million pay income tax. And every time if you follow medical aid, you get tax credits, right? So you pay 20,000 Rand a year for medical aid, you get credits back from tax because you're paying out of pocket. So they want to cancel that tax credit. They want to increase taxes. And they actually want to nationalize medical aids. Because they're going to say
they don't want to nationalize the medical aid. They want to nationalize the medical aid savings. So what they want to do is they want to say, you know how most people have a savings pot attached to their medical aid? They're like, no. There's that big pot of savings there everywhere. What we could do is we could nationalize all that and say that it would be managed by the government rather than the medical aid fund. And we could then use that money to reallocate it to NHI. The problem is it's still theft because it's still money, you commie bastards. So you can't just go steal my savings account because that's actually effectively what it is. It's my savings account. Hence why it's called a medical aid saver. So it's my cash. You can't steal my cash and give it to someone else. But in typical commie fashion, they don't think about this. What they actually think about is, ooh, a big pot of money for us to steal.
Exactly. And medical aids have been quite slow on the uptake. So they're like, oh, we agree with the principles of NHI. We agree with the principles of free, quality, what's the other one? Affordable healthcare. And I'm like, pick two. You're not going to get all three, as always.
No, you're not.
And then Discovery was like, we agree in principle with the NHI, but we have a few issues. Like, for example, that the government can't be the only buyer of healthcare. Because how it would work under the NHI is you and I would go forward to the hospital, we'll wait 5 years, maybe get the foot operation we're waiting for, and then the government will pay for it out of a pot.
Except they won't have any money.
Exactly.
And the hospital will have recourse against you for the fees that the government didn't pay because the government aren't well known for actually paying their suppliers.
Yeah, at all. So the problem with NHI is A, it's too expensive. They're not going to implement it, as we said on the channel for a longest period of time. But I'm friends with a lot of doctors, right? My wife's a doctor. I got a lot of friends who are doctors. I live in an area close to major hospitals, and a lot of doctors live around here. They are all going to New Zealand tomorrow if NHI is implemented. If the middle class, we can take and tolerate load shedding, we can tolerate crime, we can tolerate all sorts of shit. We can't tolerate public health care. The middle class is not going to exist at all if NHI is implemented.
I've got to remind the commie arsetards that are the ANC. And we talk about the commies a lot because commies suck because the brains in there are just non-existent. Because let me tell you something that the NHS has learnt over time. The first thing it's learnt over time is it's free. So what happens right across Europe, mate? Every time somebody goes, oh, I can't get a medical appointment in Poland or something, or it's going to cost me too expensive. What do you think they do? Well, we actually have a word for this in the UK. We call it a medical holiday. And what they do is they actually go over to the UK to get their medication and their medical appointment. What's the chances of the freaking Democratic Republic of Congo all going, oh, crap, man, like there's no healthcare here. Let's all go down to South Africa and use the free NHR. You think you got a problem with Mozambicans and Zimbabweans coming here now? Let's implement NHR and let's see how many of them come here for free shit. And then if you think you can't afford it now, well, lo and behold, this is going to be a lot more expensive when you got a shit ton of people from foreign countries coming out to use it. Which, if you cast your mind back, wasn't there a protest at the start of the year by some individuals in Johannesburg where they're like, oh, these hospital queues are really long because there's too many Zimbabweans here? I recall that protest.
Me too.
So you reckon that that's not going to get worse? Oh, and guess who the number one employer of Zimbabwean nurses are? Yeah, that's right, the UK. They don't stay in Zimbabwe to work there. They get trained there. Then they go, oh, the Brits pay lots of money. And you know what's funny about the Brits employing all the Zimbabweans? They employ them at a steal because they know that if they employ the locals at the proper salary, they can't afford it. So what they do is they try to attract third world labor at virtually like the lowest possible cost you can in the UK, which we would call like virtually slum labor or some slum wages in South Africa. But because it's in the UK and there's the pound, it looks attractive to a foreigner. However, South Africa can't do that. Who the hell are we going to attract with our wages? Like, all of our doctors are going to go, cheerio, old chap, and I'm off to New Zealand because they're not going to stick around here and deal with this shit, are they? So where are we going to get our cheap doctors from? Somalia?
Yeah, maybe some
China?
place, maybe some place.
I got it.
Others.
Cuba.
Oh yes, of course. I forgot about that. The slave trade between Cuba and South Africa. We made a lot of videos on that as well, by the way. But yeah, basically, you want to give the full health service to people who can't switch on electricity, who can't. I mean, the failures of the ANC are so. I mean, at this stage, if you do vote for them, you are clinically retarded. But if you go to the NHI, they won't be able to tell because the machine will be broken.
You'll be going in there. Hey, I got an ear problem. It's okay, sir. We'll amputate your foot in the morning.
Yeah. So anyway, if the NHI is ever something that exists, not many people will stick around for the leg amputation after routine appendicitis. So let us know your thoughts. Is the NHI actually going to exist? It looks like they can't afford it, and I don't know if the ANC will be in power long enough to actually implement it in any material way. So
You know what disgusts me about this whole thing is that they know it can't be done. They know that logistically it can't be done. They know that policy-wise it can't be done. They know that they don't have the money. They don't have any of the infrastructure. They don't even have a country that doesn't steal shit because the ANC are so notorious. Do you remember the 500 billion that Cyril said, I will account for every penny and none of it will get stolen? 3 weeks later it was like, terribly sorry, guys. I lost all 500 billion. I don't know where it went, but we'll account for it. And he still hasn't accounted for it. So remember that guy? You're going to put him in charge of your medical savings? Well, I'm not. But with that being said, what really gets me is they still want to push it forward.
But you know why, Byron?
Just remind me.
You know why? Hold on. I'm going to interrupt you. I do apologize. If we go back to 2013, and we say the South African National Health Insurance will play a crucial role in freeing up donor funding for countries that need it more.
I was just going to ask you.
Said Trevor Mundell, the president of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. What are you saying? Sneaky, soppy globalists are pushing socialized medicine in South Africa? I'm not coming.
And would you know it? Like, wasn't there just a G20 meeting of globalist shills, of which Ramaphosa was one of them? I still don't know how, but apparently he was there. And one of the things they all gave a commitment to was the WHO and their pandemic treaties and their socialized healthcare, even though the WHO arguably has destroyed the world's economy. Yep. Thanks, WHO. I remember when they said that monkeypox, which was racist, you can't call it monkeypox, although they never told us what we could call it. They said that was a pandemic that only affected... let's not talk about it. It's not a pandemic anymore because awkward conversation. But those guys, apparently, they like this whole thing and they're heavily funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So, yeah, you could possibly argue that this actually has nothing to do with the people's well-being and possibly just the potential funding and donations from a globalist shill company, which I always find really weird considering... just remind me, what color is Bill Gates?
A pasty yellow because he eats like burgers from the lab all day. But I think it's important to understand for people watching, the NHI was definitely planted by Bill and Melinda Gates and the foundation. Back in 2009, I can't find it with me right now, but there was a publication, a full proposal framework policy thing of the NHI, sponsored by them and presented to Barbara Hogan, the health minister of South Africa at the time. And because she said we need to implement this through normal processes, she was actually removed as health minister at the time. So this is definitely a globalist push for socialized medicine in South Africa. The irony is we do have socialized medicine already. It's called public health care.
And it sucks.
And well, care is a bit of a misnomer because they don't care, they don't care at all.
They don't care. No.
So the solution to that is to give more money to those people and then just reduce choice for people who can afford private healthcare.
And on a final note, everybody always says Morning Shot doesn't have a solution for anything. All we do is moan. So if you're an insurance company, I have a pitch for you. And what it is that if the NHI is adopted, we suggest that you create a brand new scheme. We call it Sangoma Aid. So in the event that you have a medical problem, a Sangoma will be appointed and the Sangoma will provide ritual, whatever they do, some kind of traditional medicine, and it will allow you to be healed.
You just hide the penicillin in the bones when they throw it. It's a miracle.
And I must say that right now, Sangoma Aid versus NHR, man, I'm going to the Sangoma any day of the week, like any day. So
Same.
I think it's a R1 billion idea, guys. Make sure you get in on early things, and Morning Shot will take its cut of commission.
No, actually, I think we're going to cut this part of the interview and we'll just go ahead with Sangoma Aid. That's the billion rand idea. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good one. Cheers.